Well, hey there, Facebook Live. How are you doing today? Hey, I am looking forward to this session because I think it's going to be really controversial. I think that I'm kind of poking at a sore wound for a lot of us with what I'm going to show you. And instead of just leading with my opinions today, I wanted to lead with some social proof and some of the journal articles that are being written about the state of the new economy that is happening. And I am talking indeed about the Wall Street Journal article that I posted the other day. Thank you to my friend Dave Gambrell, who is Mr. Marketing Mentorship. I'm going to share my screen right now. This is a Wall Street Journal article, and it's entitled "Contracted: The End of Employees." And it says, never before, you can read it with me, have big employers tried so hard to hand over chunks of their business to contractors. From Google to Walmart, the strategy prunes costs, firms, and job security for millions of workers. Talks about the airline industry, talks about Richard Branson's Virgin America. They have the highest measurement of efficiency called revenue per employee. And you know why? It's because all of the lower, I'll just call them lower cognitive jobs, and that may not be the right way to term it. That may sound a little insulting, but the baggage handling, the maintenance, the reservation, a lot of these less unique, less specialized jobs are completely contracted out. And you know what? In an automated economy, that is, from a business perspective, from a competition perspective, that's a smart thing to do. And you might say, hey, that's not fair. You know, let's vote for Bernie Sanders. Let's do, and you know, maybe that's the case, but I don't know that Bernie could have done too much about this. I don't know that unionizing can do too much about this trend. I'm just going to show you some of the pictures because I want you to read the article. This is powerful stuff. This is a trend. This is hard to get around. The trend is they're outsourcing more and more. And the thing, you got some really cool little infographics on here. Here's the thing. My heart just goes out to all the people out there that are working a responsible job right now, and they're doing probably more responsible than a lot of entrepreneurial people who are going out. We're out there and we're hunting and day by day, and that's what we do. And there's something to be said for being, you know, content and giving back and showing up and helping someone else or something greater than you succeed. However, here's my point. The writing is on the wall for at least half of these people who are going to work right now. By 2030, that's 11 years from now, they are not going to be working for someone else. They're going to be involuntarily self-employed. And I'm just scrolling through this article. Then I'm going to show you another one very briefly. I'm going to post the other one moving forward here. So a lot of neat little pictures and everything else, but I'm not so cool and I'm not so keen on this involuntary employment. Here's another one, McKinsey. Jobs lost, jobs gained, what the future of work means for job skills and wages. This is very interesting. I don't know if I'm allowed to be scrolling and showing this on Facebook Live. You've got to go and check out the article. They have some really interesting, even more interesting infographics here. So you can actually click on this and see, you know, in the different country, and I'm not clicking the right place because there's an overlay. You can click and see, you know, creatives in the United States is actually going to increase by 8%. Teachers going to increase by 9%. Managers, executives, 15%. Builders, look at that, 35%. Care providers. Then you get to office support. Wow, it's going to go down by 20%. So that, you know, that backup office temp job that I always had in the 90s, in the aughts, if I wanted to do Excel for, you know, whatever, $15 an hour or whatever that I used to do back in the 90s, 20% of the jobs out there are being automated. Predictable physical work, negative almost a third. So, I mean, these are the trends. And it's not really fun to talk about this stuff. It's certainly not fun to pick a scab and, poke at a wound. Certainly, I mean, I come from a family 2 generations up. My grandfather was union. My other grandfather was, I don't know if he was union or not, but he worked for the trains. And the greatest generation, the World War II generation, they would go. You know it because you've heard it passed down probably through your family. You work for a union and they look out for you, or you get a good solid job at a good blue chip company, and they will look out for you. And that started going away in as early as the 80s, and it was a big shock to our system. Then in the 90s, then in the aughts, and now we're seeing it. By 2030, by the beginning of the 30s, which is only, it sounds like the Jetsons to me, but it's not. It's really only 11 years away. And what can we do about it? I think the answer, please don't say, I'm going to write my congressperson. They will take care of me. They will care about me. They will care about you. They'll let you cry on your shoulder a little bit, but I don't know that. I mean, this issue is a trend. This is bigger than any of us. And the answer is not to wring our hands. The answer is not to post an angry comment on my wall. I'm just going to point you back. The answer is to do the really hard work that I need to do and you need to do. And I'm going to just hit pause right now because it's not been the easiest week for me. I know I'm here on Facebook Live and we're talking about this and I'm all rosy and cheery, but I mean, it's been a little bit, sometimes the dark night of the soul, but I keep coming back to this whole thing. Nathan, what are you doing? Even though it's not easy, even though it's not the best way that you would like it to be, what are you doing really to add value to people? I look at the podcast that I started with 100, I'm saying, why am I saying 100? Well, 100 talks in 100 days. We'll get to that if you haven't been keeping up. But I've interviewed, next week, we're at 250 interviews. And these are all people who have given a branded talk, really, a TEDx talk. Frankly, why do you call it a branded talk, Nathan? Well, number one, it's not my brand. It doesn't belong to me. So I'm not going to, TED spam everything around. I'm going to call it a branded talk. There are other short form talks that are idea centric in addition to TED or TEDx. Q is a great one for faith-based. Idea City is a great one. And there are all kinds of different formats being built up as we speak. Every single day there are new conferences, not just, TED conferences or things like that, but there are other people inventing their own style, their own format. And we're getting Chris Anderson, the head of TED. I've got the book right here. Great book to read. No matter what kind of talk that you want to read to prepare, that's a great book because it gives you insight on the new, what he calls, Chris Anderson calls presentation literacy. It's excellent. So, I mean, what does presentation literacy mean? This is going to be very shocking. You could be a award-winning Toastmaster. You could, and not be presentation literate. You could be a keynote speaker and not be presentation literate, not have presentation literacy in terms of the kind of talk that a particular audience may need to have. They may not need a 55-minute corporate keynote. They may not need a, Dale Carnegie style or a Toastmaster style talk where you are the polished expert and you don't say or ah or you actually do a better job of blending in and entering the dialogue in people's heads and influencing that dialogue when you don't look completely perfect. When you actually do the hard work of polishing and then you depolish, you leave a couple rough edges just for the purpose, not of manipulating people, but connecting to people. Because it's not very agreeable when you're watching someone on the stage and they're just like Mary Poppins, positively perfect in every way. You remember that? Mary Poppins, positively perfect in every way. We don't like people that are positively perfect in every way. We want people to be like you and me. I don't know about you. I goof up an awful lot. But what does this have to do with where we're going as a society? Well, no matter what kind of presentation you give, see, I just did it, and that wasn't voluntary, but what kind of presentation you give, you've got to develop that idea into something that is going to resonate with people. You've got to find a way to communicate quickly in a short form, in 5 minutes. I mean, the long form 18-minute TED Talk is way, way, way too long. Can you communicate that in 5 minutes, 6 minutes? Can you communicate it in 10 seconds? These are great questions to ask. This is a little bit of a trip down memory lane for me. Was it 10 years ago? What are we? No, way more than 11 years. This book that I wrote came out almost 15 years ago, and I was just looking into the future. You see this? Look at that baby-faced guy right there. I wrote this book because I was passionate still about the same thing 15 years ago. I wrote this book so that we could learn how to go to experts and work with them and coach them and have workplaces that not just onboarded employees, but re-onboarded their subject matter experts and their instructional design teams. These are people that can speak expert language, that can quickly come up to speed no matter what the person's an expert in. An instructional designer is someone that can go into like a crash course, and they can teach themselves enough about what the expert does so that they can speak her language. So the expert doesn't have to deprogram and de-silo themselves, but instead the instructional designer learns the language of the expert so that they can help deconstruct the concepts so that you can create training or videos or manuals or things like that in plain English in a very short amount of time to train vast quantities of people. Now, that field came up to speed in World War II, and because you had to train the army and you had to mass produce instruction. And I wrote this book almost 15 years ago because I saw a bad trend. I saw that there was way too much turnover and there was so much onboarding, simple onboarding, or just preparing the working relationships that could be done for companies that didn't want to burn through millions and millions and millions of dollars through the HR department, having to hire people that get burned out, fried because of a combative relationship, because of the jealousy, the insecurity, all the false stuff going through the expert's mind. What are the expert employees concerned about? Losing their job, just like shown in these articles. So I just did my best. I was a newbie in the field. I was like, well, this industry has some challenges and some problems. I'm going to just respectfully offer up a few solutions. But, there's a much easier strategy than just, writing a book or whatever it is. It's simply taking your know-how and taking your message that you want to share with the world and turning it into a short presentation. Are you talking about a TED Talk, Nathan? I could be. Are you talking about a Q Talk for the faith community? I could be. Are you talking about a Idea City Talk or something, that my local university is doing and it's a call to speakers and all of that? Yeah, I could be. I mean, this is bigger than the big gorilla in the room, which is TED, and TEDx. There's 120,000 of us. If you go to the YouTube channel, there's 120,000 of us that have given talks. I've only given one so far. I'm working on frankly, working on my next one because I think that we all need to have at least one going on. And the key piece in all of this that holds people back is they don't even know where to start. They just think that they need to wait to be asked. And if you're a multimillionaire and you employ hundreds of people in your city, you probably will be asked. Or if you're a political figure and you're real popular and, people like you and everybody kind of wants to have you on your stage, you will be asked. But if you haven't done those things, like try as I might, I haven't hired a few hundred people with my brilliant ideas yet. I'm not waiting for people to come to me and say, "Oh, Nathan, would you please, give a talk? We'd really like to hear from you." No. And you know what? That's okay. This new economy that we're coming into, people are not going to be lining up and saying, "Nathan, we want you to be one of the 50% of our employees that we keep. Will you please be an employee?" No, they're not going to come to me. And when you got your job, they didn't come to you. What do we have to do? We have to go to them. We have to have a mindset where we're applying. Same thing with college. College didn't come to you unless you're like a football star. Then they all lined up. We watch the movies of the football coaches that are just recruiting the same 5 or 10 high school athletes to go into the program. For the rest of us, it doesn't happen that way. And that's okay. It shouldn't happen that way. And if it did happen that way for us, we wouldn't grow. We wouldn't learn. We wouldn't have a whole lot of grit. We wouldn't have a whole lot of tenacity or perseverance. And the good news that I have realized through my journey onto the stage and then off the stage is that all it takes is some perseverance. And if you want to be a talker, that's great. It just takes tenacity to get your talk accepted. Now, I've been helping a few dozen people through this process, and we've been, exploring it, and we've been testing it, and we've been observing, and it's been a really amazing journey because what I've decided to do is to help 100 people give 100 talks in 100 days. So what that means is, we only have about 95 days or so left in 2018. What does your 2019 looks like? What is on your goal list for 2019? What's on your bucket list for 2019? I say a version of this story every time I do a Facebook Live. 2017, my friend Deb and I, we were messaging back and forth, and it was like winter or like February, maybe March of 2017. And I had a goal that I wanted to give a talk by the end of the year. And there was a lot of stuff that I had been doing behind the scenes, and I've been going and enjoying a lot of local events, which was wonderful. It was a really high quality format, but I wanted to give my own talk, and I wanted to see if this stuff would work. I wanted to see if I could get on the stage, not with people that knew me and knew that I was a speaker and all of these things. I wanted to go to people that didn't know me at all. And I wanted to test it out and see how tenacious I would need to be. And I found out you got to be really tenacious. It doesn't happen on the second time. It doesn't happen on the fourth time. But I tell you what, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth time, I got to the point where I was starting to stack enough odds in my favor that I could turn down opportunities. And I ended up on a great stage about a year ago. And it was a wonderful thing. It was a wonderful experience. I learned this from my friend John when I went to Guatemala with him a few years ago. He talked about, you can be as successful as you want to be, and that's just great. But until you help other people, you'll never be significant. And something that I didn't have when I was applying and going on this very lonely, kind of scary, frightening journey was a mentor or a friend or someone that was actually showing me how to apply. I had to figure the whole thing out from scratch, and that's where most people are stuck. That's where most people are not even taking the first steps to differentiate themselves for the economy of the future. When 2030 rolls around, do you want to be sending in applications for a job, for a better employee job, now that half of it will be automated by that time? And do you want to be competing against other people who haven't given a lot of people who haven't given some sort of a talk, as well as a whole bunch of people who have given multiple talks by that time? That's 10 years from now. I mean, what are we doing to really set ourselves apart from the pack? What are we doing to do that? if you really want to make a difference, and if you really want to demonstrate that you're out of the box, that you're able to take, it's an interesting thing when you walk on the stage and you prepare and hone a talk, because you've got to be creative enough to be worth employing, to be, that you've got good ideas, you know how to organize those ideas, you know how to articulate those ideas, you know how to work with the time clock. There are a lot of things that demonstrates, but it also demonstrates that you could be, if you want to be a good employee, or if you want to be a good consultant, or if you want to do that, it demonstrates that you worked with the with the organizing team, that you could speak. They gave you 10 minutes, maybe. Not a lot of these talks are not 18 minutes long. A lot of these events are 9 minutes that you get, or 11 minutes that you get. And this demonstrates that you worked with the time clock, you worked with the orders, or the amount of time that you had, and you gave a concise, well-prepared, well-delivered presentation. That's what it means. And that is a powerful thing. So when 2030 rolls around, how many of these talks do you want to have? And it doesn't have to be, whatever you think that I'm espousing right now. I'm talking about all kinds of talks. I'm talking about the talks that you might think I'm talking about. And I'm also talking about the other talks that haven't even been invented yet. That's the beauty of this. But I love honing this process down and honing these thoughts and crystallizing these thoughts and learning how to be, I don't love this part, learning how to be different than what we thought an expert was supposed to be in the past or even today. And that's an outdated idea. This is a bunny trail, but my next talk may just be about how the challenge that I'm facing and all of you watching this are facing as we navigate being the expert of yesterday and having all those expectations of being an expert. What is an expert of yesterday versus what is the human, the helpful human of today that has all of the expertise of the old school expert, but less ego, and has all of the credentialing of the old school expert, but doesn't wear it on their sleeve, and has all of the little techniques of the old expert, but does not use, sarcasm, but instead uses humor to connect with other people, that knows all the little neuro-linguistic programming techniques that we need to at least be aware of, but doesn't manipulate people and doesn't use those influence techniques in a wrong way, but uses them in an ethical way and only to benefit the other party. There's a lot of differences between the experts of today and yesterday and what we still think they are, and the very best of the best. And I interview the best of the best on Be the Talk. I've interviewed, what are we up to? I think 244 episodes dropping as of today, something like that. And I'll tell you, not everybody has a personal brand. Not everybody has a book or some kind of some kind of document or some kind of tangible thing that they have worked on. And, I can only promote people so much, even if they've given a TEDx talk. I can only promote them so much. And usually people have at least a LinkedIn website or a LinkedIn. But beyond that, if they don't have a website, if they don't have a book, if they haven't taken the brand of their talk and really expanded it into real programs that people can use and really learn how to articulate it, I can't help them all that much. So there's a whole bunch of things that happen. The first thing that really needs to happen for a lot of people, learn how to incorporate this into your lifestyle. Learn how to reach out and articulate your ideas and think of the solutions that we're going to need in 2030. I mean, this is a fight for all of us. It's a fight for our lives. It's a fight for our outer life, our career. It's also a fight for our inner life. It's a fight for how are we going to be walking into the next decade or two? Are we going to be limping in because we didn't articulate our ideas and what makes us different from the other 7 billion people. And that takes some courage. And sometimes that can take some guidance, some help, coaching, a mastermind, some kind of community contact, where you are sharpening other people and they're sharpening you. Are we going to limp in, or are we going to confidently stroll in and have the answers that people need? Here's what I'm doing specifically. Here's what I'm doing specifically today. 100 talks, 100 days. Anyone you know that needs to be on that stage, I have a completely free email course, and it's not like a 2-year email course. It's a 5-day email course, and it gives you the basics that you need. Now, if you already have access to tools like that are focused on helping you get accepted by doing the habits that need to do, I want you to let me know, hey, Nathan, we don't need this in the market right now. We've got this guy and this lady and that lady and that, and it's all, free and it's all there. But I don't see many other people doing this unless there's like a hidden little hook in there. And I wanted to take all of this knowledge that I've gotten interviewing 250 people as of next week. Actually, it's far more than that, but the ones that have dropped, I've learned a lot of things. I said it's time to really compress this down. It's time to go on Facebook Live for 100 days, see how many Facebook Lives you can do, Nathan, to find out what sticks, what is really relevant for people, and to get out of your little interviewing 15 people a day and really find the connection with where people are that want to be on that stage, that, secretly they want to be on that stage. They don't think they have what it takes to be on that stage. And I know you do have what it takes to be on that stage. Private message me. I'm still putting the details together. I'm still putting the links together. You know how that annoying that is when you put things up and the links don't work. So I'm not even directing you to go. I'm telling private message me so that I know you're on the journey, that's a desire for you in 2019. I want to help you by the end of this year take enough action that you actually get accepted before 2019 rolls around, and you can add this to your media kit, your presentation, your curriculum vitae, your resume. You can start setting yourself apart as a consultant, as a thought leader, as a top-notch employee who's a keeper employee, whatever it is that you wish to do. It's so important to start thinking differently. Please don't expect your elected leaders to be able to take this on. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, meaning there's going to be a lot of good rhetoric, and people are on your side, but we've seen, one person comes in, they want to put health care for everybody. It doesn't matter how it comes through, doesn't matter if there's consensus, doesn't matter if there isn't consensus, it goes through. Then all the other people that didn't want all the implications of that, then they vote, and then somebody else comes through, and then they kick the legs out of under that law and lets the natural forces take over, and now we're losing that piece. And I'm not really wanting to talk about healthcare right now. The point is, it's bigger than even a political party. They're not going to keep our jobs. We're useful, and they care about us individually because we're part of the voting bloc, but are they going to really be able to help you, help me? I don't think that is a wise positioning. So much better for us. And it's not easier. It's easier to expect, a political Superman to come out of the sky. But it's a better strategy to realize that you have what it takes. 100 talks, 100 days. Private message me or email me, nathan@bethetalk.com. Ask me any question related to getting accepted for your talk. Ask me any question about how do I know how I have a super duper talk. And I'll answer that question. I'll answer that one right now. You don't need to have a super duper talk. Everybody thinks that we need to have a perfect talk. We need to have a unique thought about among the 7 billion people on the planet, like Simon Sinek did or Ken Robinson did. I got news. None of us has an original thought. All we have is what we bring behind that thought as individuals. Our experiences, our attitude, our spirit, and that is what fuels an amazing idea that's truly worth spreading. It's what you bring to it. So I believe in you, and I believe in the potential of your talk. Will you reach out to me? Let me know you watch this. Let me know you're thinking about getting serious about doing something. I might not be your guy. You might want to go, do a private weekend somewhere. You might want to go with someone as your guide who is just firewalling right off the bat. I'm not doing that. I have chosen to interview a person per day to give you the tips, tools, and techniques. And I've been so busy doing that and batching and working hard and working with my ninja team that I haven't spent enough time, frankly. I'll admit it, because people have frankly told me. People have told me. I've gone and paid money, gone into some hot seat mastermind groups. They gave me the tough love. They're like, what's going on? It's because I haven't spent the time to connect with you. And so I'm not going to make that mistake again. I may not look like I'm scared to death right now, but I tell you what, I am. I am scared to death to throw my heart out there on Facebook Live every day. But you know what? You're going to be scared to death when you walk out and think about giving your talk. And you know what? This is great. This is called growing. This is called doing what we need to do to enter the 2020s, enter the 2030s, when half of our jobs are away and we have to be self-employed whether we want it or not. This is called doing the work so that we become the person that we need to be when that time comes. And I don't know about you, but I don't know what happened to the last 20 years. And I know it's going to be another 20 years from now. 2030, I'm going to be, what is that? I think I'm going to be 55 in 2030. I'm going to be 55 years old. I'm going to have less energy level possibly than I have right now. And I'm moving forward. I'm committed to growth. I'm committed to uncomfortable, painful, soil my pants, scary growth, because that's the best way. I just know it intellectually. I know we're supposed to make decisions emotionally, not intellectually, but I know rationally, and it scares me. But I know that's the right way to do it. I'm not going to depend on the government. I'm not going to depend on my family. I'm not going to depend on that. I am fighting to find a way. I know I'm here to be a link in the chain, possibly for you, possibly for people you know. And I know that when we keep on seeking, we're going to find that niche. I've done so many things in so many different arenas to be helpful for people in a season. And I'm thankful that I'm going to be able to look back and see the dots connected. Maybe you feel the same way as that. That was a little more authentic than I wanted to be right now, but maybe that resonated with you. Maybe you want to look back and see that thread in another 10, 15, 20 years connected. It's going to only happen as we lean into this future, this brave new world with bravery. I hope this made sense. If this meant anything to you, if you know that other people need to hear this message, go ahead and hit share, comment, question, ask me anything. Take care.